Results are nothing to write home about right now, but don't think this form will stop the club from having motion in the market, because we have some big stories developing around exciting youth talents we are looking to tie down. Tons of things to discuss today, my friends. I hope you guys are ready for today's Chelsea news. But before I continue on right now, if you guys are still looking for Christmas gift ideas, the Mega Store has you guys completely covered. I think the Christmas selection is quite nice, quite sentimental. It's like the first time the club have really done things like this. So if you guys are liking what you're seeing, or if you like other items on the Mega Store, don't forget to use my affiliate link in the card above, description below, and use Nini10 at checkout to get a full 10% off your final order, my friends. So we start things with the first story, and it's a quick little update surrounding Axel Disasi, because it does look like we could be saying au revoir to Disasi in the January window, and that comes courtesy of L'Equipe, who revealed that Chelsea have been in talks with Lyon over a possible loan move in January. So let's see what happens there. Now, Lyon are set to lose 2 players to AFCON next year in Clinton Mata and Musa Nakate. Oh my lord, I'm actually terrible, you lot. I'm so sorry. So it makes sense that they're going to take advantage of one of the Chelsea outcasts right now. And I'm sure the club would kind of be happy, of course, to let him make his moves in the January window. Now, in the post-match press conference before the Atalanta game, Maresca was kind of coy but revealed that the futures of Sterling and Disasi could be figured out in January, where naturally these players would be allowed to move on loan or permanent deals if that happen. I think for Disasi right now, though, it makes sense for him to start playing. And I think going back to France, going back to his home nation, building up his reputation again could be the perfect thing for him, because it's kind of crazy to me that a few years back, this brother was representing his nation at the World Cup. It's insane. You could see why he was even signed and he came to Chelsea. And I'm sure he came here thinking that this would be the move to put him on the international map and make him one of the key guys for the national team. It's so scary how life can be sometimes when things don't work in your favor. And now I'm watching clips of Disasi getting rinsed by under-21 strikers. It's a grim, very dark world out there. But you know what? Low-key, I feel from a little bit. You can't really tell me that there's much of a difference really between himself and Tosin. I think these guys are great for low block structures as the central centre backs and maybe a back three. I think they have exceptional ball playing abilities. I'm not forgetting those Disasi line breakers, but they don't suit the high line stuff that we need. And it just really made no sense to me why they were even signed to begin with, if I'm being honest with you. So hopefully for Disasi's sake, who, listen, he's been an absolute pro behind the scenes. He's been a professional. He's accepting things graciously, more graciously than he has to, because I think it's kind of harsh how himself and Sterling have been completely ostracized for no fault of their own. Let's hope that he finds himself back in Ligue 1 from the January window. So, my friends, that's the first story out the way. But let's discuss one of the breaking reports that has literally dropped right today. And we discuss a wonder kid that we just bagged. And my friends, you're seeing it on screen right now, but confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. It does seem like we have bagged exciting Burkina Faso talent in Mohamed Zongo, 16 years old. We've done a deal with Sporting Casade FC after scouting this guy heavily in the Under-17 World Cup. And at the moment, as we guessed, his next move will be to go to Strasbourg, our sister club, which makes the most sense. So I spoke about the story a few days back, and back then reports from Africa were revealing that we already had an agreement in principle in place. I guess that was correct, because this is confirmation now that we have bagged a talent that we seriously have high hopes around. So it's great to see. You know, I like when I see African representation at Chelsea. We've had a history of great African players in the new millennium era. And it's nice to see the next generation also feeling like they could potentially also create their storylines at the club as well too. So yeah, happy for the kids. But there's a lot of interesting conversation around what this move potentially does mean right now. Because as we know, he can't actually sign for Strasbourg until he reaches 18 years old. That's the reality behind things. So I think for us, it's another example of using Strasbourg as an incredible network to be able to, of course, sign and secure talents across the globe and then kind of introduce them to life very softly into Europe. And I think now that what we're seeing with Rossinia and even Strasbourg's youth academy, now that it's producing certain talents that are making matchday squads and getting a few appearances here and there, everything's leveling up at the club right now, even though their form has been just like ours recently, very mids. But with a club like Strasbourg, they are going to be a selling club. So naturally, we need to create that pipeline of talents that could one day replace your, you know, your Barcos, your Moreiras, your Encisos, all these guys, right? So yeah, it's really interesting to see this news. I'm going to play you guys some clips so you can kind of see his game, to kind of get a better understanding about what he's about. And I've made this comparison before, but for myself, I do see a lot of these Muhammed Kudus type of comparisons in his game. This is a player that can play as an 8/10, but can also find himself playing out wides. He has a really nice mixture and balance of strength, which allows him to kind of eat up ground. I think the guy is very fluid and mobile in terms of his transitional threat, and the guy powers a rocket of a long shot, not needing much backlift to generate power on goal. But again, it's these moments right here, that carrying threat in those central areas, releasing attackers. He's not just a guy that plays to carry and plays selfishly. This is a player as well that also has a bit of finesse to his game, the playmaking, the ability to find attacking lanes with his passes. He's also a very strong set piece taker as well. I've always personally liked those 8-style midfield players that can carry. They're like one of my favorite type of players. I think one of the most exciting things is seeing a player carrying from behind his own halfway line into enemy territory and then doing like a mad like gallop or dribble up the field to set up an attack. I think it's one of the, for me, a very exciting thing to see from a player. And I guess for the players we're also scouting, we are scouting players that could possibly be with us maybe from the next 1 to 5 years, right? In the sense that I think the 8/10 role in Chelsea's team is going to be a position that's going to always remain there for a long time. So I guess it makes sense to have a pipeline of talents that could one day possibly be options we turn to. Obviously, Kendry Paez, he still needs to emerge at Strasbourg, but he's still young. Zongo, of course, let's see what he does in the next 2 years when he's there. And many other players that we have as well too. So yeah, I'm happy with this news. We're going to see if this guy becomes the next Bertrand Traore, or with the motion he has right now, could he possibly be another Kudus in the making? So that's the thoughts. That's the story, my friends. Let me know how you're feeling about this news, because this is a big coup actually to bag this guy after his impressive under-17 World Cup. You know, 2 goals, 3 assists, one of the youngest players in the tournament, and was stealing the show for fun. So let me know how you're feeling about things, because my friends, we're going to move on now to the next story. And yeah, this player, this guy looks serious. And my friends, we'll be talking about the latest surrounding Luis Eduardo, because we actually have some new updates emerging around this story, which we have to break down and we need to tackle. Yeah, as we know, Man United were locked in a battle with us over this guy's signature. But my thing with United is like, why are they begging it? You know, like you want to copy our model band for band, but you don't have the motion. You know, you don't have the expertise. You're playing catch up right now. And no serious talent is going to pick United, who are still trying to find themselves, over a club now who has been doing it now and is building that reputation, especially in South America. So as you're seeing on screen right now, the news that's emerging is that, and this comes from Brazilian journalist Fabio Vargas, the news emerging is that we are preparing an official offer to present to Grêmio. That's going to be around 10 million euros, around 8.5 million pounds. And it's going to include performance-related bonuses in this deal as well. So, yeah, it's actually happening. We're actually actualizing this interest. And I think this is someone that you want to have in your network. Realistically, this is a future Strasbourg player, but you're going to need that because they're going to have like a conveyor belt of talents coming through. And it's quite obvious that we are just kind of creating that pipeline. There's going to be like a very smooth type of conveyor belt where if one guy goes, there's already someone there. And this is where you're seeing maybe the expertise of the Brighton model working in our favor, because when Brighton had all their staff before we bought them, this is what they were doing. Yeah, anytime someone left, there was a McAllister in the pipeline. There was a Matoma already out on loan in Belgium. There was already a Caicedo as well doing his thing in Belgium as well. So this could really work for us in our favor in terms of creating a world-class team for not that much money. So yeah, you guys probably want to understand more about this guy's game, right? Because he's really getting a lot of accolades right now. Now, he's only made one debut for Gremio. That was back in February. He's only 17 years old. But some of the mad things of his game is the fact that he's like 6'2" already at 17. Yeah. One of the madder things is that he clocked one of the fastest speed times in Brazil. It was a Copina game. And he picked up, or it was recorded that he ran at like 38 kilometers per hour. And that's mad because the fastest kilometers per hour run in the Premier League so far this season comes from Wolves winger and a new signing in Jackson Chihuahua, I think his name is. And his was recorded at 37.7 kilometers per hour. So the fact that this centre-back has world-class pace, yeah, and he plays in defence. Bro, this is like, I'm envisioning his stats on Football Manager, and this is like, if he had like a regen centre-back that has 19 pace, or 20 pace. It's out of this world, to be honest with you. But he's more than just pace, but obviously that pace is what the big clubs need now, to play a very high line. But on top of that, to also execute a high line properly, you need proactive style defenders that can dominate their duels, win the first tackle, who have that authority. And this is someone that possesses that, but is also praised for the leadership abilities he's shown. At the Under-17 World Cup, this guy was the captain for the Brazil national team and one of the standout players for them as well. And you can see that with how he defends, right? Lateral spaces. He can go toe-to-toe against wingers, which you need playing high line, because a lot of times your defenders, when you're playing with this setup and tactic, they need to show that they can kind of track wingers and stop counter-attacks. And most times counters come from the wide positions, right? That's one of the realities. But on top of that, he's got an eye for a pass. His line breakers are good. He does have a sense of composure, which probably comes from the fact that he's like 6'3", he's 17. He's probably bigger than most of the youths that he's playing with right now. But the thing is, when you step up to the professional level against grown-ass men, it's a different story. So details like his temperament under pressure, experience with his positioning and discipline, and all these types of facets, they come into question. But you can't really see that until they're given first team exposure, right? So listen, the kid has a 60 mil euro release clause, but there's no way in hell anyone's going to pay that. An opening offer of 10 million euros probably starts the conversation, right? Especially for a guy that's made one first team debut. So let's watch this space, because it seems like the next star we want to bag is Luis Eduardo. And right now, yeah, alongside Denero Dornes, bro, we're doing some serious things in terms of capturing some of these talents, right? So let me know your thoughts and opinions on the story, my friends, because right now we're going to end things very briefly on a little update surrounding Murillo of Nottingham Forest. And my friends, one sec. I don't know why that messed up then. We have a little quick update on Murillo, and we're learning that Murillo has actually confirmed finally that he wants to leave Nottingham Forest in the summer. Now, he's not the first guy that's hoped to leave, only for their owner to kind of completely correct guys and check them for having the audacity to want to do that. So yeah, Murillo is an interesting one. A lot of interest in big clubs. Madrid's are now admirers looking for replacements for Rudiger potentially. Definitely for David Alaba. Murillo would definitely fit that mold. Arsenal, big admirers, but I do not know why. I mean, they're stacked in defense, moving hella greedy. And we've also had long-term interest. Now, there was a report that came out that suggested actually that we were kind of losing interest because we don't want to have too many first team stars altogether. Because how do you find that balance? You know, Levi Colwell, Fofana, Action Pong's emerging, etc., etc. But I'm of the belief that we're gonna see some replacements in the summer. I have question marks around guys like Tolson. I got question marks around guys like Badiashile. And who knows what happens with guys like Fofana and Co, even though I'd imagine we probably don't want to sell, but it was obviously a possibility that we could have entertained the right offers for Wesley if they came in the summer. So, yeah, it's something to think about. And with a club like us, we always have options about for any possibilities in the future, right? I like Murillo. I think the guy really could be an exceptional guy playing in the Cucurella role, I guess, as that wide left-sided centre-back. But you've signed Hato, and you also have Cucurella. So unless something mad happens in the summer, which for me would have to be Cucurella leaving to go to Barcelona, if Barca magically have the funds to bag this guy down, I just don't think Murillo would make sense for us, especially with the finances, because Forest will slap a mad premium on his name. And like I'm saying, you only bring this guy in if it's a guarantee that Cucurella might be leaving us. Now, we know Cuckoo signed a new deal for more money, but not any extended years on top. Does that mean something? Probably not, because he has a few years left already, and I'm sure you can kind of entertain them again in the future, right? So let's see what happens with this case. But for myself, if push comes to shove and we need to sign a centre-back, if we're not doing everything in our power to sign Mark Gueye, a guy who's on a free and is clearly a world-class defender, and I'm going to always just champion some of my takes here, because it's my channel, my rules. Now I'm playing. But from time, I was like, I see something in this guy from the academy days, but I just felt like I see him going to the top, and he's actually proving me right. I think bringing him back could make the most sense on a free, giving us more money to spend on reinforcements for next summer. So my friends, that's all the latest news that has dropped today. Give me your thoughts and opinions on the star youth that we're signing, and let me know one defender you would target, because I feel like a few of you guys want to see defensive option signs. So hope you guys enjoy. Catch you guys later. Love.